Emperor Hirohito, who reigned over Japan from 1926 to 1989, remains one of the most controversial figures of the 20th century. His role during World War II, whether as a divine sovereign guiding his nation, a symbolic figurehead with little real power, or a war criminal responsible for Japan's militaristic aggression, has been fiercely debated by historians, politicians, and the public alike. Understanding Hirohito's complex position requires exploring Japan's political system, wartime decision-making, and the post-war legacy that shaped his image. Hirohito as the divine emperor, the God King. Before and during much of World War II, Hirohito was officially regarded as a living deity, a descendant of the sun goddess Amaterasu according to Shinto belief. This status made him the ultimate source of legitimacy for Japan's political and military leaders. His divine status was central to state Shintoism, which fused religion with nationalism. Propaganda portrayed Hirohito as the spiritual and moral leader of the Japanese people, embodying their unity and destiny. Soldiers were indoctrinated to fight and die for the emperor, whom they saw as both a god and a paternal figure. This God King image helped mobilize Japan's population for war and justified the militarist government's policies. The emperor as symbol, limited political power? Some historians argue that Hirohito was more a constitutional monarch than an active ruler during the war, primarily a symbolic figurehead. Japan's government was dominated by the military and prime ministers, such as Hideki Tojo, who made key war decisions. The 1889 Meiji Constitution granted the emperor supreme command authority, but in practice, military leaders often acted autonomously. Hirohito attended meetings and was informed of military plans but rarely publicly opposed the aggressive expansionism or atrocities committed by Japan's armed forces. This view suggests Hirohito's role was largely ceremonial, with limited control over the conduct of the war. The war criminal debate, responsibility and accountability. Despite his symbolic status, many question whether Hirohito should be held accountable for Japan's wartime aggression and atrocities, including the invasion of China, the attack on Pearl Harbor, and crimes such as the Nanking Massacre and use of forced labor. After Japan's surrender, the International Military Tribunal for the Far East, Tokyo Trials, prosecuted military and political leaders but notably excluded Hirohito from prosecution. U.S. General Douglas MacArthur and Allied leaders decided to preserve the emperor's position to maintain stability and facilitate occupation reforms. Critics argue that this decision allowed Hirohito to evade responsibility for enabling militarism and war crimes. Some historians contend that Hirohito had knowledge of and tacitly approved military actions, while others suggest he sought to restrain the military but lacked the power to do so effectively. Post-war role, from divine emperor to symbol of peace. After the war, under Allied occupation, Hirohito renounced his divine status in the famous Ningen Sengen Humanity Declaration in 1946, transforming his image from a god to a constitutional monarch. He became a symbol of national unity in the new democratic Japan. His continued reign helped legitimize the post-war order and Japan's rapid recovery. Hirohito avoided public discussion of wartime responsibility, and many Japanese viewed him as a figure above politics. His longevity on the throne, until his death in 1989, allowed for a gradual re-evaluation of his role. Historical perspectives and ongoing debate. Scholars remain divided on Hirohito's wartime role. Some see him as a complicit ruler, deeply involved in planning and approving aggressive policies. Others emphasize his constrained position within a militaristic regime dominated by generals. New research, including access to diaries and documents, has shed light on Hirohito's involvement in decision-making, but definitive conclusions remain elusive. The debate also reflects broader questions about Japan's wartime memory, responsibility, and reconciliation.